शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमतो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते यौपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रणोति तस्मै तमदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो भ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहितप्रज्ञानघनप्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ॐ नारायणं पद्मभवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तन्तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ इत्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम् तदनन्यत्वम् आरम्भणशब्दादिभ्यः न च इयम् अवगतिः न उत्पद्यते इति शक्यं वक्तुम्. You cannot say that this knowledge of the non-duality of Atma does not take place. Tadhasya vijajñau ityadi shrutibhyah. From the teaching of the sage Uddaraka, the father, that Shvetaketu did come to gain this knowledge, and this and similar statements show that knowledge does take place. Avagati sadhananam cha shravanadinam vedanavachanadinam cha vidhana. Also, the Shastra prescribes the antaranga sadhanas, bahiranga sadhanam, the inner, the proximate and the remote means. Shravanadinam, Shravanam Mananam, the antaranga sadhanam, and Vedanavachanam, bahiranga sadhanam, these are prescribed. So that suppose knowledge takes place, so what? Nacha iyam avagati anarthika bhrantirva iti shakyam vaktum. You cannot say that this knowledge does not generate the benefit, or that aham brahmasmi is a brahma, is a delusion and not a reality. You cannot say that. Avidya nivritti phaladarshanat. This knowledge dispels the ignorance. This is what we find. And by dispelling ignorance, it also dispels the samsara, the sorrow, which is the product of ignorance. Bhadakantar abhavacha. You cannot say this is Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi is not brainwashing. It's not a delusion created in your mind. By constantly being told, you are Brahman, Swamiji, are we not being brainwashed? No. Because once that knowledge takes place that I am Brahman, Bhadakantar abhava, there is no other knowledge that displaces it, that negates that. It is a antyam, the ultimate knowledge, not subject to improvement or change or negation. What is Bhranti? For example, seeing a snake where there is rope, that is called Bhranti, which is Badayogya, which can be negated by the knowledge of the rope. Here, there is nothing, no other knowledge that can negate this. Prakcha atmekatva avagate avyahata sarva satyanurada vyavahara laukiko vedikasyeti avochama. And all these vyavahara, the transaction, the interaction in duality is not a problem. Prakcha atmaikatva avagate. Before the knowledge of the non-duality of the self, the duality is taken to be real, and that perception and other means of knowledge have a scope with reference to duality which is unreal. But even unreal also, as long as it is not known to be unreal, is real in the eyes of the perceiver. Similarly also this duality, as long as one does not know that it is mithya, so long it is satyam, true, as the dream is. So just as in the dream also, all the subject-object transaction takes place. Even though the reality of the dream is that the object is not apart from subject, Atmanamevadvayam, there is only one non-dual Atma, the self in dream. But the duality is superimposed by ignorance, and until one wakes up to the reality of oneself, that duality is taken to be real. And so also, to explain the vyavahara, you do not have to imagine, you don't have to give reality to duality. The Brahma or delusion also can accomplish the same purpose as long as the Brahma is not known as Brahma. So avyahata, uncontradicted, sarva satyamrita vyavahara, laukiko vedikascha, all satya and anuta. See, in the realm of mithya also, there is something called satyam, like the water which we drink. Something is called mithya, like the mirage water. All this vyavahara is intact. As long as you do not realize that both kinds of waters are mithya, until then this vyavahara remains intact. Tasmat antyena pramanena pratipadite atmaikatve samastasya prachinasya bheda vyavaharasya badhitatvat. Therefore, antyena pramanena, Upanishad is the ultimate pramanam, the final verdict of the Supreme Court. Nothing to challenge. And so, antyena pramanena pratipadite atmaikatve, the non-duality of self, which is delineated by or taught by Vedanta, which is the ultimate pramanam. Samastasya. But once you wake up from the dream, then dream no more remains real, or the dream vyavahara has no reality anymore. Similarly, when you wake up from this dream of duality, that vyavahara and duality does not remain real anymore. Even if vyavahara takes place on the part of the wise person, there is no reality given to that. So, Veda Vyavaharasya Badhitatva. At that time, what remains is non-duality. The duality being completely negated or sublated. Therefore, na anekatmaka brahmakalpana avakasha asti. Therefore, to explain the vyavahara and duality, there is no reason for you to imagine that Brahman is a composite entity consisting of the Veda and Aveda, duality and non-duality. He says, but your Upanishad itself says that Brahman is parinami or subject to transformation. Nanu, mrudadidishtanta pranayanat parinamivad brahma shastrasya abhimatamiti gamyate. Shastra does not directly say that Brahman is changeful. But from the illustration given by the Shastra, illustration of the clay, etc., given by the Shastra, the clay definitely is changeful. Parinamino hi mrudadayo loke adhigamaha adhigataha. Everybody knows that the clay and the gold and the iron, all the examples which are given, all of them are changeful. So when Shruti gives the example of clay, etc., which are changeful, it seems to suggest that Brahman, which is illustrated by clay, etc., also must be changeful. Iti gamyate, this is arthapatti. Had Brahman not been changeful, The example of clay, etc., would not have been, some other example would have been given. The fact that example of clay, gold, which are changeable substances, are given, therefore we can conclude that Brahman also is changeful. Na iti uchyate. No, that is not right. Because this conclusion, you can derive this conclusion from the illustration of clay, etc. But that conclusion will contradict what is clearly stated elsewhere. See, changefulness is not clearly stated, that is something that is presumed, derived. Whereas that Brahman is changeless is very clearly stated. Sava esha mahanaya atma ajaro maro mruto bhayo brahma. That Atma is birthless. When birth is not there, no other modification can be there. Birthless means what? Ever existing. Birthless means not subject to birth, which means what? Ever existing. Is not like Shashashrunga or the horn of a hare, which also doesn't have birth. No. This is ever existent. Therefore, it has no birth. So, अजर है आत्मा, अजर है, free from old age or decrepitude, अमर है, अमृत है, अभय है, आत्मा is Brahma. Very clear, इति आत्मनः इत्याद्याभ्य सर्वविक्रिया शेष नेति नेति आत्मा. Not this, all the visheshas or the distinctions are negated in the Atma. Asthulam, ananu, it is not gross, not minute. And similarly, all visheshas or attributes are all denied or negated in Atma, revealing that Atma is nirvishesha, devoid of all vishesha. Therefore it is niravayava, it is partless, never kutastha, changeless. इत्याद्याभ्य सर्वविक्रिया प्रतिषेध श्रुतिभ्य ब्रह्मण कूटस्थत्व अवगमा. So from these Shrutis, it is very clear that Brahman is kutastham, changeless. And therefore, to imagine that Brahman is changeful would very much contradict this clear statement. They are all spashta vakyas. That Brahman is changeful is only presumed. Whereas these vakyas clearly state that Brahman is changeless. Why not? Brahman is both changeless and changeful. Says one entity cannot be simultaneously possessed of the contradictory attributes. So Brahman cannot be simultaneously changeless and changeful because that is contradictory. Nahi ekasya brahmanah parinama dharmatvam tadrahitatvam cha shakyam pratipattam. Ekasya brahmanah, Brahman which is one, non-dual, one. To imagine that one Brahman alone is simultaneously changing and changeful is self-contradictory, so it cannot be. So Purva Pakshi says, why not? It is changeless now and changing later on. In Pralaya Avastha, Brahman is changeless. In Srishti Avastha, it is changeful. Why not? Sthiti Gativat Syadiniche, like Devadatta is standing right now, he is moving later on. Na kutasthasya visheshanat, says no, that also is not possible because then Brahman will no more be kutastham. Because if Brahman undergoes change at any time, Brahman undergoes change at any time, then it means that even when it appeared changeless, there was a potential of change. In the deep sleep state, everything seems to be unchanging. But as soon as you wake up, all change happens. That means that in the deep sleep state also, the change was potentially there. Looks like in deep sleep state, there is no desire at all. But as soon as you wake up, you find yourself desiring. That means that the potential of desire was very much there in deep sleep state. Similarly, if Brahman is changeful during the sthiti or the sustenance, then even at the time of dissolution, pralaya, it appears to be unchanging, it has potential of change, so it is changing only, it is not kutastha. Kutastha means that which does not change, which means that which does not have potential of changing also. Kutasthasya visheshanat, Brahman is kutastham, changeless, and therefore it cannot have change at any time. Nahi kutasthasya brahmana sthiti gativat aneka dharma shayatvam sambhavate. Brahman, that is kutastham sthiti gativat. Now it is changeless and then it is changing anekatmakatvam. So this Devadatta who is motionless now and moving later on is anekatmaka. Devadatta is a composite entity consisting of many limbs. So Devadatta is a stander also, is a walker also, is a sleeper also, is an eater also. Follow? So all this multifoldness is there in Devadatta. Therefore, Devadatta is always changing. Even when he appears to be standing, there is a potential of running there. So, Brahman cannot be aneka dharma shrayam. So, Brahman being changeless cannot be ashraya or the locus of many dharmas. It is nirdharmakam, devoid of all attributes. So Nyayana said, Parinaminam hi Banapashanadina Kramena Sthiti Yukte. Like an arrow, this Parinam is changeful. Therefore, right now it is motionless when it is on the bow, and then it is moving when it is released from the bow. Similarly, stone also, changefulness is the nature of stone. Therefore, it can be non-moving now when it's somebody's hands and starts moving when it's thrown. Nantu parinama ayogyasya. How is Brahman? Kutastha means what? Parinama ayogyam, which does not have potential of change. By nature, Brahman does not have anything in it which will make it changing. In this body, there are many limbs, and therefore the motion can be there, change can be there. So, the potential of change is there. But Brahman being changeless, it is devoid of potential of change also. Therefore, Kramena Parinama Tadrahitye Brahmana Nasyata. Therefore, in Brahman, changefulness and changelessness cannot be there. These contradictory attributes cannot be in Brahman. Brahman cannot be locus of these contradictory attributes. So then says Nyayana, all right, these two things cannot be there simultaneously in Brahman. changefulness and change. It's okay. It says Brahmani viruddha dharma asambhave kutasthatvam hitva parinamitvam vaishyatam. When you say that Brahman cannot be the locus of the contradictory attributes like changefulness and changelessness. Okay. So discard the changelessness and say that Brahman is changing. So you are saying that Brahman cannot be changing because it is opposed to changelessness. Why not we say that Brahman is changing? Discard the changelessness which is opposed to changing and say that Brahman is changing. Why not? If two things cannot remain in Brahman simultaneously or even in sequence, then one of them can be there. So why do you insist that Brahman is changeless? Why not Brahman can be changeful? So Vashyakara says in the page 381, first line, Kutastham cha nityam brahma sarvavikriya pratishedha ityavachama. The Shruti clearly says what is the nature of Brahma. Kutastham cha nityam brahma. Brahman is, so it is saying, Sava esha aham aja atma ajah ajarah amarah etc. So Shruti clearly says Brahman is Kutastham. We are not saying it, Shruti says. And that we already said. Now you can't say that, why not Brahman is changeful? Kutastham cha nityam brahma. Brahman is Kutastham, changeless, nityam, eternal. Sarva vikriya pratishedat. Because all vikriyas, all the change has been negated in Brahman. Iti avochama. This is what we already said. So you can't discard changelessness and adopt changefulness because that is not accepted by Shruti. That is not in conformity with the Shruti. Says Nyayana, anavayava, anavachinna, kutastha brahmana, swarupat, aprachyuta svabhavasya, sarva prakara, tad viparita karyakar, parinama shruti anupatya. Anavayava, Brahman is partless. Anavachinna, it is limitless. Kutastha, it is changeless. Brahmana, the limitless. Swarupat aprachyuta svabhavasya. See, Brahman's nature is such that it cannot ever fall from its nature. That which is partless, that which is limitless, that which is changeless, there is no way that it can undergo change. Avinashu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasha nabhyasyasya na kasyat kartum arhati. Atma is avinashi. He is non-destructible because the potential of destruction is not there. So Brahman ever remains established in its glory, in its own nature, because there is nothing can make Brahman fall or get, distracted from its nature. A fruit has a potential of being rotted, therefore, even when it is fresh, it is possible that if it is left for a while, it may get rotted. But stone will not get rotted because the potential of being rotted is not there. So Brahman can never be diverted from its nature, can never be fallen from its nature, because that potential of falling is not there. स्वरूपाद अप्रच्युत स्वभावस्य सर्व प्रकार तद विपरीत कार्य का परिणाम शुद्ध अनुपत्या. Therefore, Brahman cannot change in the form of karya or the jagat, anupatti. Even if Shruti seems to say that Brahman became jagat, we have to interpret the Shruti appropriately because Brahman has no potential of change. Then we have to say Brahman as though changes into jagat. That's what the Karikakara said in the Advaita Prakaranam. इसको अजातवाद है. That jati, birth is not possible. When you look at the creation, then Vaitathya Prakaranam, then the creation is mithya, is very clear. When you look at Brahman, then mithya, then there is no change possible in Brahman at all. Therefore, Brahman cannot be born. Ajata means is unborn. Therefore, no real birth or no real creation has taken place because Brahman does not have the potential of any real creation. So, sarva prakara tad viparita karyakara. Jagat consists of all these contradictory things. Parinama shruti anupatya. Brahman cannot get transformed into a jagat like this. Karya, then what is the nature of this jagat? How is it created? Karya prapanchasya swarupad aprachyuda sutyade rajatadi parinamavata. That Ratna already said. It is not parinama, it is vivarta. Just as the shuktika or the shell gets transformed as though into silver, so also Brahman as though gets transformed into the creation. Meaning just as the shell appears to be silver, so also Brahman appears to be Jagat. Therefore, mithya vivartatvam siddhyati. So Jagat is mithya, the superimposition upon Brahman. That's what gets established because Brahman is changeless. Brahman being changeless, Jagat has to be mithya. There cannot be real Jagat. If Jagat was real, then it means that Brahman has undergone a real change to become Jagat. But Brahman cannot undergo change because it does not have what it takes to change, The clay has something that it can change because clay is a composite entity made of many particles. So you can rearrange those particles and you have a different shape and form and name. But Brahman is not a composite entity, it is a partless, homogeneous whole. Therefore, no potential to change. Brahman means consciousness cannot change. Therefore, the Jagat of the creation has to be a superimposition. Samprati parinama shrutehe swarthe phala abhavat. This discussion becomes necessary because there appear to be the passages in Upanishads where it appears that Brahman has become creation. There are passages where it appears as though Brahman has become this creation. Therefore, all this discussion. So, if Brahman has become creation, what does that knowledge, what benefit does that knowledge give you? Please tell us. Parinama shrutehe swarthe phala abhavat. The Shruti that seems to suggest that Brahman has undergone a change, the knowledge of that changeful Brahman has no benefit at all. And if knowledge does not have benefit, then that knowledge is not knowledge. It has a different purpose. If the knowledge does not bring out a benefit, that means that knowledge serves some other purpose. It serves the purpose of another knowledge which has benefit. So beneficial is called knowledge. Phalavat. If some knowledge does not bring about any benefit, then we should conclude that knowledge is a means of some other knowledge which will create benefit. So that's what Bhashyakara says. Nacha, the Bhashyakara says, Nacha yatha brahmanah atmaikatva darshanam moksha sadhanam evam jagadakara parinamitva darshanamapi स्वतंत्रमेव कस्मैचित् फलाय अभिप्रेयते प्रमाण अभावात् यथा ब्रह्मणः आत्मैकत्व दर्शनम मोक्ष साधनम. It is well known, and Shruti also very clearly said that knowing Brahman as Atma, that knowledge is moksha sadhanam, is a means of liberation. That's all. Just this knowledge. You don't need anything else. Atma does not have to become Brahma, thank God. Atma happens to be Brahma. All that is necessary is to recognize that fact. And when you realize the fact that Atma is I am Brahman, then all the sense of smallness disappears. The sense of smallness that arose in me on account of taking the body to be myself, that sense of smallness all drops when I come to know that I am not the body, I am Brahman. That sense of smallness was the cause of all the sorrow, therefore all the sorrow also disappears. So what is moksha? Moksha is freedom from all the sorrow. But Swami, how about Ananda? When sorrow goes away, happiness automatically manifests, no separate efforts to be made. Just as when darkness goes away, the light manifests there simultaneous. Similarly also, the sorrow is veiling the happiness. When the veil of sorrow goes away, happiness automatically manifests. That is moksha. Atyandika dukkha nivritti niritisha sukha avapti. The elimination of dukkha or sorrow once and for all, an attainment of unsurpassable happiness once and for all. So this is well known. Evam jagadakara parinamitva darshanam. Suppose you realize that Brahman has transformed itself in this jagat. Suppose that's the realization. Your realization is Brahman has transformed itself into this creation. What will that give you? Then creation remains separate from you. You continue to remain a limited entity and a sorrowful entity. So samsara remains intact. Therefore, swatantrameva. Even this knowledge also will give you result indirectly, alright, but directly. Knowing Brahman has transformed itself as Jagat, in itself does not have any benefit at all. It can serve as a means of something else. So swatantram. Swatantram eva phalam kasmaichit phalayana abhiprayate. Nobody thinks that knowing Brahman as having changed into the universe, that knowledge has any immediate or direct benefit at all. Pramana abhavat, because you do not find any statement that says that knowing Brahman as a universe will liberate you. Nobody says that pramana abhavat. So says Jnana, Brahma Jnanasya phalam tadeva parinami Brahma Jnanasyapi Shastrameva chatra pramanamiti. So when Shastra says that by knowledge you get liberated by knowledge of Brahman, when Shastra says that liberation or moksha is a result of knowledge of Brahman, we say that that is knowledge of changeful Brahman, suppose we say that. The Shastra, it can be interpreted to say that it is the knowledge of changeful Brahman that gives you moksha, suppose. He says, no, that is a pramana. So pramana abhavat, that's the pramana. Says, Ityashanga, next line says, Kutasthat Brahmatmatva Vijnanat evahi Phalam darshayati shastram Sa eshaneti netyatma Ityupakramya Abhayamai janaka praptosi Ityevam jatiyakam. No, Shruti very clearly says that there is the real benefit of knowing Brahman is changeless, that alone results into moksha and not anything else. Kutastha brahmatmatva vijnanadeva phalam. That's the Shastram. Shastra, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, very clearly says that moksha in this case is abhayam. Moksha, liberation, can be described in different ways. One way of describing moksha is freedom from fear. Abhayam pratishtham vindate. Taittiriya Upanishad says that the wise person gains abidance in fearlessness. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad there, sage Yajnavalkya tells King Janaka, Abhayam vai Janaka praptosi. Hey Janaka, you have attained the fearlessness, the fearless. That is description of moksha. And Sahesha neti neti atma, by knowledge of what? Atma, that is devoid of all the attributes neti neti. By knowledge of that Atma, that Janaka became fearless, Janaka became liberated. Iti. Therefore, when Shruti says that knowledge of Brahman gives moksha, it is not Brahman that is changeful, it is knowledge of changeless Brahman that is the means of moksha. This we already read, Ratnava first line, Kincha Nishphalasya Jagataha Phalavad Nishprapancha Brahmadi Sheshatvena Anuvadat. Therefore, all these Srushti Vakyas are either Arthavada or Anuvada. Brahmadi Sheshatvena. So, knowledge of the universe as Brahman is a means of, it leads to the knowledge of Brahman that is transcendental. Astityavopalabdhavya tattvabhavena chobhayoho astityavopalabdhasya tattvabhavah prasidati. First of all, Brahman is to be known as Asti. The whole universe is nothing but Brahman, Akhila Brahmanda. The whole universe is Brahman. To manifest, Brahman is manifest as the universe. That's how it is to be first known. Tattva bhava, so Brahman is immanent, all pervasive. Tattva bhavena chobhayoho, then it is known tattva bhava in its true nature, which is transcendental nature. Astityopalabdhasya tattva bhava prasidati. For the one who has known Brahman is, then that Brahman I am. So first Brahman is known as is. That leads to the knowledge of I am Brahman. So Brahman is becomes a helpful step towards realizing that I am Brahman. That's called Shesha. So Phalavat, and that knowledge I am Brahman is Phalavat. That brings me liberation. Nishprapancha Brahmadi Sheshatvena Anuvadat. So Jagat is a daily experience, is just Anuvada. Wherever there is a description of Jagat or universe is merely Anuvada. It is reiteration of what you already know. Na Satyata. So even though in the Upanishad you may find description of creation that is merely either Arthavada or Anuvada, it doesn't have Swarthe Tatparyam, it doesn't have Satyata. So says Nyayana, Tarhi Parinami Shrutinam Anarthakya. So two kinds of Shrutis are there. One is the Shrutis that talk about the Parinami Brahma, like the changeful Brahma. Others are the Shrutis that talk about Kutastha Brahma, changeless Brahman. You are saying that knowledge of changeless Brahman is beneficial and knowledge of changeful Brahman has no benefit. Tari Parinami Shrutinam Anarthakya. So that which does not serve the purpose is called Anarthakam. So all the statements of Upanishad that talk about the Jagat or the creation, they all become meaningless. And that is not Pramanam. Therefore, Adhyana Vidhi Virodha Syad. Every statement of Veda must be Pramanam. So every statement of Veda must generate knowledge which is meaningful. But this knowledge of the creation does not generate any benefit at all. So it looks like it is meaningless. So what purpose does it serve? It says Phalava Sheshataya Safalya. Same thing. Even though it does not have phalam of its own, Phalava Sheshataya. It is Shesha or helpful or a means of knowledge which is beneficial. So knowledge of Brahman, Kutastha Brahma is beneficial, and knowledge of Parinami Brahma leads to the knowledge of Kutastha Brahma. Therefore, that is also meaningful. Tatra Subhashyakara says, Tatra etas siddham bhavate Brahma prakarane सर्वधर्म विशेष रहित ब्रह्म दर्शनात् एव फल सिद्धौ सत्या यत्तत्र अफलं श्रूयते ब्रह्मणः जगदाकार परिणामित्वादि तद्ब्रह्म दर्शनोपायत्वेनैव विनियुज्यते फलवत्सन्निधौ अफलं तदंगम इतिवत् न तु स्वतंत्र फलाय कल्प्यते इति। तत्र एतत् सिद्धं भवति. Now when you have both kinds of statements talking about changeful Brahma for meditation. There are lots of meditations in Vedas and even in Upanishads also, where there is a meditation upon Brahman with attributes. Changeful Brahman. But that knowledge does not lead to moksha, then what is the use of that knowledge? This is a conclusion from this discussion. Brahma prakarane sarvadharma vishesharahita Brahma darshanadeva. In the context of Brahman, Shruti is very clear that Brahman is devoid of all the attributes. And the knowledge of attributeless Brahman or knowledge of changeless Brahman alone is seen or clearly stated to be fruitful or beneficial. Phala siddhau satyam, that alone gives rise to the phala or the outcome in the form of moksha. Yat tatra aphalam shruyate. Then there are many statements where there is no phalam. You see, even in Ramcharitmanas and on this text also, Bhagavatam, elsewhere also, the Granthakar himself or herself tells you what the phala is. That if you repeat this, know this Sundarakanda, then what the phala is. Even the listening of the dialogue between Lord Rama and Sabri also, what phala it has. But there are many things about which phala is not heard. Knowing about Manthara and Kaikeyi, all that knowledge, all that is not stated that any phala is there. So there are many portions of Ramcharitmanas knowing which does not generate any fruit or any benefit. Are they all useless? Should we discard them? He says, no, all of them are required to generate the knowledge of that which will give rise to phala. So knowing Kaikeyi and knowing Mantra, etc., will bring about the Aranyakanda and Kishkinda Kanda, etc., the knowledge of which will be fruitful. So if this was not there, if Ayodhya Kanda was not there, then Aranya Kanda could not be. So even though we find that there is no benefit of knowing the Charitra of Manthara and Charitra of Kaikeyi, still that knowledge becomes indirectly meaningful by leading to the knowledge of Sundarakanda, etc., which are meaningful. So they also serve the purpose. Therefore, they are also pramanam. Therefore, sarvadharma vishesharahita brahma darshanadeva phala siddhau satyam. It is very clear, Shruti is very clear, that phala, namely moksha, is a result of knowledge of Brahman that is devoid of all the attributes. Yatra aphalam shruyate brahmana jagadakara parinamitvat. So elsewhere, when you have the description of creation, where it may appear as though Brahman underwent a transformation to become the Jagat, but there is no result stated for that kind of a description. Aphalam shruyate. Shruti does not describe any phala or any benefit of knowing Brahman which is changeful. Does it mean that we should discard that part of the Shruti? Says no. Tad Brahma darshan upayenaiva viniyujyate. Therefore, that knowledge becomes a means of generating the knowledge of changeless Brahman. The knowledge of parinami Brahman, changeful Brahman, becomes a means of knowledge of the Kutastha Brahma, changeless Brahma. For that, tatra, say, tatra eta siddham. Tatra means what? Srushtya Shrutinam Swarthe Phalavaikalye Sati. Now that it is established that the passages of the Upanishad, the Shastra, talking about creation, have no independent result, therefore they have an indirect result. in generating the knowledge of non-duality. The description of creation is the description of duality. What does that knowledge yield? Nothing. But that knowledge of non-duality is meant to lead to the knowledge of non-duality, which is beneficial. Just as Karma Yoga does not directly bring about moksha, but Karma Yoga brings about Antahakana Shuddhi or purification of mind, which becomes a means of Vividisha, where Vividisha, Vairagya and Mumukshutvam arise, which then leads to moksha. Once Prathama Bhumika Aroha is there, you are on an escalator. By Abhyas of each Bhumika, the next Bhumika automatically evolves or develops or manifests. Tatra Mimamsakavatam Udaharanamaha. This is what Mimamsakas say. Phalavas sannidau aphalam tadangam itivata. Phalavas sannidau, in the proximity of something which is beneficial, which has a fruit, which has a result. Aphalam, if there is something which is in the vicinity, then we should understand that as the anga or a part of the main ceremony. Says here, explain the statement. Yathahi swargadi phalavatah darshapurna masade sannidhane shrutam. Just as the darshapurna masa yaga. Darsha means done in Amavasya. Purnamasa is Paunami. So, that yaga is called Darsha Purnamasa, and that yaga is stated to have lead to 7 Swarga. So, Darsha Purnamasa yaga definitely has a result in the form of Swarga. Then there are other small yaga, Prayaja, etc. Other yagas also described which do not have any result. Shruti doesn't say what result you get by performing this prayaja. So prayajadi swatah vifalam tad angam iti angikriyate. So Mimamsakas have concluded that this prayaja itself, which do not generate independent results, are all anga, or they are all parts of, or they are all the accessories of the main yaga, which is Darsha Purnamasa. For example, there will be a lot of description of what benefit you get when you do the Satyanarayana Puja. But for Satyanarayana Puja, you must do Varuna Puja and Ganesha Puja and so many other, for which there is no result stated. Does it mean that Varuna Puja, Ganesha Puja performed during the Satyanarayana Puja, they have no meaning? Should we discard them? He says, no. They are anga, they are all limbs of the main puja. They complete the puja. तथा सृष्ट्यादिदर्शनापि ब्रह्मज्ञान शेषतया तत्फलेनैव फलत्वात्. So therefore, even knowing the Srishti etc. is meaningful, because knowing of the duality leads to the knowledge of non-duality. Dve vidye veditavye iti hasmayat brahmavido vadanti parachaiva aparacha. Upanishad says that these two forms of knowledge must be gained, paravidya and aparavidya. Aparavidya does not have any direct result, only paravidya. Yatat aksharam adhigamyate athapara. So by paravidya you gain the knowledge of the immutable Brahman, not by aparavidya, but still aparavidya is to be known because it leads to the paravidya. By generating vairagya, so aparavidya is all karma kanda, and that also is important. By vidhi nisheda, living life like that, you become an Arya, Antakarana Shuddhi takes place, Mumuksha takes place. Says, Nanu Prayajade Shuyamane Phalaineva Phalavatva Sambhave. Yeah, but when Prayaja is part of the Darsha Purnamasa, when Prayaja is part of Darsha Purnamasa, then when Darsha Purnamasa leads to Swarga, so Prayaja also leads to Swarga, isn't it? So Prayajadehe Shruyamana Phaleneva Phalavatva. Therefore, you don't have to imagine that Prayaja also is independently contributing. So why do you call Prayaja Anga as a limb of the Darsha Purnamasa? Iti Ashankya Pradhana Phalaineva Phalavatva Siddhau. Says, no, Prayaja is not an independent result. It contributes to the Darsha Purnamasa, and Darsha Purnamasa is meaningful. That indirectly, Prayaja by way of Darsha Purnamasa becomes meaningful. Phalantara kalpane gauravat, otherwise Prayaja is this phala, that is that phala, this phala, so many phalas will be there. Gauravam, too many phalas. So one phala, namely Swarga, all of this contribute to that, they are part of that. So Vashyakara says, Natu Swatantram Phalaya Kalpyate. Therefore, this knowledge of this Srishti does not independently yield any result. It yields results by way of contributing to the knowledge of non-dual Brahman. Then says Ratnabrahma, Tam yatha yatha upasate tadeva bhavati iti shrutehe. Tam yatha yatha upasate. Tam paramatmanam yatha yatha upasate. In whichever way you meditate upon Brahman, tadeva bhavati, that's what you become. Whichever way you meditate upon Brahman, that's what you become. So if you meditate upon changing Brahman, you become changing. That's what it means. Iti shrute brahmana parinamitva vijnana. Brahman is the object of upasana, object of meditation. That it can be meditated upon, and whatever can be meditated upon has to be changing. Understand that the changeless self cannot become the object of meditation because it is the very self of the meditator. Therefore, for meditating upon changeless Brahman, even the meditator also has to be dropped. Samhar karna padega. Yena tyajasi tat tyaja. So that by which you are giving up, give up the giver up also. Meaning that Nirvishesham Brahma or Nirgunam Brahman cannot become the object of meditation. What can be meditated upon is Saguna Brahma, meaning Brahman with attributes superimposed upon that. So that is changing Brahman alone can become the object of meditation. And by meditating upon changing Brahman, do you also become changing? Does the Atma start changing? So tat prapti vidusya phalam. Why not the meditator has the phalam, the result in the form of attainment of changing Brahman? Nahi, so Bhashyakara says, Nahi parinamavatva vijnanat parinamavatvam atmanah phalam syat iti vaktum yuktam kutastha nityatvat mokshasya Nai parinamavatva vijnanat. Parinamavatva means what? That which is possessed, that which possesses change. So by the knowledge of changeful Brahman, that Atma should also start changing, that cannot be. Atma is changeless. And therefore, Parinamavatvam Atmana phalam sadhi vaktum na yuktam. You cannot say that the knower also becomes changing entity. Kutastha nityatvat mokshasya. Because moksha is changeless and eternal. And moksha means it is a result of knowledge of Atma, that is eternal and changeless. So by meditating upon Brahman that is changing, Atma cannot become changing. Therefore, knowledge of changing Brahman has to be accepted as an anga, as a part of the overall purpose of the knowledge of the non-dual, changeless Brahman. Iti. No, that is different. Okay. So that earlier iti, palaya kalpa iti, siddham bhavati dhanesa iti siddham bhavati. Okay. Says Nyaya Nirnaya, tasya tavadeva ityadina pratipannam kaivalyam vihaya. Why should you settle for an inferior result? Tasya tavadevam chiram yavanna vimokshe atha sampatsye. That statement clearly says that he becomes one with Brahma, one with Sat, atha Sat sampatsye. I will become Sat or Brahma, meaning that identity with Brahman is the result, and Brahman is Kutastham. So giving up that result, Samanya Shastra Siddha Phalakarshane Vakya Bhedasyaditi Bhavaha. If you attach the phala, limited phala to knowledge, that would be Vakya Veda. It is giving two things. It gives moksha as well as some Brahmaloka, etc., which is not right. Says Ratnaprabha, Brahmavit apnoti paramiti kutastha nitya moksha phala sambhave. Another example. Brahmavit apnoti param. The knower of Brahma attains the limitless. Param has to be changeless, understand? Param means limitless. Limitless must necessarily be changeless. Because a changeful entity cannot be limitless. A changeful entity is under the influence of time. It is perishable. What is perishable cannot be limitless. Therefore, param means kutastham. So, Brahmavit apnoti param, the knower of Brahma attains the supreme, the limitless. Iti kutastha nitya moksha phala sambhave. So, param is kutastham and nityam. So you attain what is kutastham, changeless, nityam, the eternal. That's what the knower of Brahman attains. When that is possible, dukkha, anitya, parinamitva, phalakalpana, ayogat. What's the use of attaining the changeful Brahman? Because change is there. Where there is change, there is dukkha. Where there is change, there is spiritual anitya. Where there is change, there is transformation. So if you become changeful Brahman, then you are undergoing transformation. Then you are undergoing change. Then you are having sorrow. Because change generates sorrow. So why should you imagine that kind of results when becoming kutastha, nitya, changeless, eternal, that phala, which is clearly stated in Shruti, when that can be the mukhya phala, why should you imagine that this is a phala of Brahmajnana? What does Brahmajnana give you? He says Brahmajnana gives you the identity with the changeful Brahman. Why not? So changeful means anityam. It is perishable. It is non-eternal. Therefore dukkhatmaka, limited. Therefore dukkhatmakam. So why do you want that kind of a result? When the result of identity with the changeless, limitless is possible. Iti bhava. Okay, we'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om